Hi there, Happy New Year and welcome back to the first video of 2017 on my channel. And today I'm going back to Andor for its probably last episode, part 3, The Last Hope. So yeah, this seems to be the great final of the Andor trilogy. This game is kind of different as it's not really an expansion, it's really a standalone game. You get this quick start guide here and everything else you need to play you will find in the box. Those of you who know the base game of Andor also know those blue little tokens here, which are part of the introductory mission. Yes, in this game you will find another introductory mission, and this is what I will focus on here. And today I will not do a full playthrough because again I don't want to spoil the experience for you. I will only show you some of the basic pieces and maybe show you what's new in this third part of Andor. Even though it's really a standalone game, it's really challenging. So if you never played Andor before, I would really recommend you go back to the core box or the basic game and start there, because it's getting pretty difficult in this game relatively soon. But for all of you who don't have a clue about Andor, I will definitely explain the core rules as I play. Some things I want to cover in this walkthrough are definitely, let's say, the additions to this third part of Andor. And please don't ask me when this game will be published in the English version. So this is a German game and the German version of the game, so I have to translate as good as I can, so please bear with me if I mess it up. I've never played the English version of Andor, so I might also mess up some of the, I don't know, core terms of the standard game, but again, bear with me, I will do my best here. And yeah, I think let's dive right into medias res. And yeah, this is pretty much Legend 11, the Grey Mountains, and again this is the introductory legend. This consists of 18 cards and all German here. Again, I will try to do my best to translate as much as I can. For this walkthrough I have decided to play as Thorn and Chada, who happen to be the protagonists of the two-player game Chada and Thorn, which is also pretty nice and pretty tricky, by the way. Both of those characters start the game here on space 201, and I think this is called the Dwarven Road. And you see that those spaces that belong to the Dwarven Road are basically have this underline under the number here. So this, and this. What this means I will cover probably in a minute or maybe 10 or more, I don't know. But for this legend it's really quite important to remember that our heroes start on space 201. They both start the game with 2 of those strength points, which are important in order to fight, and they both start the game with 7 of those willpower points. I hope this is the proper term for that. The special ability of Chada is that she can also, let's say, attack a creature that's adjacent to her, so she doesn't have to be in the same space as an enemy. And Thorn's special ability allows him to take 1 additional hero with him whenever he chooses the action to move, and he doesn't have to stop his movement, he can just do that while passing by. Pretty handy. There is more to those heroes in the last part of Andor. That's what printed on the character sheet here, but I think I will cover that a little bit later as well. And as Chada has the higher so-called rank, she will be the starting player in this scenario, which is why she's on this dawn space here. And then we are pretty much good to go to start reading the first legend card on this Legend A1, and I really hope I will not mess it up here. How do you begin telling the final chapter of a grand story? A story that started more than 100 years ago with a small group of slaves that fled from a land called Grad, which led to a new kingdom, Andor. A story full of dreadful creatures, unbelievable magic and great prowess. Well, this last chapter began on a rainy day. The heroes of Andor took shelter beneath a ledge. Thunder was in the air and they felt restless. Now we see that all the heroes start on Space 201. We already covered this. They formed the reconnaissance party for the Andori. The retinue consisted of a small group of brave peasants, blacksmiths and carpenters. They all agreed voluntarily to enter the venture with the heroes. They were eager to free the abducted Andori from the hands of the Crada. "We have to move on," one of the heroes said. "But without new provisions, we won't go far. Yes, let's search the place before we continue our journey. Who knows what's hidden in the fog?" In this first part of the introduction mission, the heroes have to complete 5 tasks before the adventure actually begins. And now we continue on Legend Card A2. And those are the 5 tasks. A hero has to enter the space with a fountain and has to activate it, which pretty much happens whenever you end your movement on a space with a fountain. The second task, at least one hero has to activate a fog tile. Also pretty simple, you just have to enter your movement here. A hero has to activate the cave tile. This is something new in this game, by the way. Fourth, a hero has to end movement on space 205. Sounds simple, but there's more to it, because task 5 is also pretty much important. Each hero has to have at least one so-called, I don't know, apple nut. But pretty much like some nuts, and yeah. They're the provisions this game. As soon as a hero stops on space 205, the first part of the introductory mission ends. Right now, as mentioned here, the heroes cannot enter or cross the gorges that are, let's say, printed on the map. I will show them to you in a second. And yeah, again, the hero with the highest rank goes first. And yeah, that's pretty much what we have to do. We have 7 hours left. We cannot use any overtime in this introductory or not in this part of the introductory mission. So let's just dive into the action. But one thing I nearly forgot, that all the heroes start with one provision. All the heroes but one hero with the lowest rank, which happens to be Thorn. So in this 2-player game, only Chana starts the game with those nuts. Yeah, again, those are some kinds of provision, and this is also a new mechanic in this game, or in this final chapter of the Andor trilogy, and this is a pretty tough one. This first part of the introductory mission can be done with just one action, and this is called moving. So you don't have to fight, you don't have to do anything else, you just have to move, or have to end your movement on a particular space, and then something happens. You only have those 7 hours for this day. In the later, let's say, turn, heroes will be able to take some overtime, but again, in this first part of the introductory mission, that's not allowed, and it's really not necessary. Chana goes first, and I think she wants to check out what's hidden in that cave here. So she moves 1, 2, 3 spaces onto this space, so we have to mark it on the time track accordingly. 1, 2, 3 spaces equals 3 hours. And now we can flip this big tile here. So let's flip it over. Hey, guess what? We get one more provision here. And it's also mentioned that heroes on the very same space can also trade any items they might possess. Good one here. So let's grab one additional provision here. This is really an unlimited space, or a space for an unlimited amount of those provisions. But now it's Thorn. He also moves again. Only moving is allowed in this chapter of the introductory mission. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we see some fog, but before we do that, we have to adjust the clock here basically, and then we flip the fog tile here, and hey, another set of provisions. Awesome, this time for Thorn, who doesn't need to go back hungry. Awesome. So we already covered 3 of our tasks here. So we went through a fog tile, we went to a cave tile, and all the heroes have at least one of those apple nuts, or one of those provisions. We still have 2 more to go, so we still have to go to the fountain, and one hero has to end his movement on space 205. Now it's Chada again, and she will move 1, 2 spaces spaces here to the fountain. A hero that ends his movement here can activate the fountain, and therefore he gets, or she gets, 2 points of willpower. Then we have to flip it, so we cannot use this same fountain at the very same day. So let's not forget 1-2 hours here on the clock, but therefore she managed to gain 2 additional points of willpower. Right now that's not really a change, because right now she would roll 4 dice. If she would manage to go to the third row here, so with 14 or more points of willpower, she would be allowed to use 5 of her dice. She has a little bit different rule in how she has to use those dice, but the more dice, the better. Then it's Thorn again, and he could theoretically go to space 205 because we covered 4 of our tasks already, but right now this fog tile really seems to be pretty tempting, so let's move him there as well. 1-2 hours, which we have to mark accordingly, so we can flip this fog tile here, and wow, we are gaining 1 point of strength. This is awesome. This tile will be removed from the game, but that's great. Let's give him 1 point of strength, which he really needs for this scenario. We still have to fulfill this task number 4 here. One hero has to end its movement on space 205. Chada has still 2 hours left, which she will use right now, 1 and 2. And this allows her to move 1-2 spaces onto space 205, which means we completed all of our 5 tasks here. Hooray! Awesome! Now we have to check the quick start guide here, and here it says, congratulations, you mastered the first part of the introductory missions. You know all the most important rules, da 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 da. You keep all the stuff that you have found for the part 2 of this introductory missions, and all the time stones of the heroes will now be returned to the Dawn space here, and the hero who ended his movement on space 205, this is Chada, will go first for the next day. Thorn will be right after her, and now we have to prepare or set up the board for the part 2 of the introductory mission, the Grey Mountains. I think I will do that off camera because this might really take some time. So here we are. I spawned all those fog tokens face down on the board. The same is true for those fountain tokens here. They're much smaller in size now. I also placed one of those, I don't know, star herbs tokens here on this space. What this means I will cover also a little bit later. And now we pretty much have to deal with the end of turn events. The first thing that you always do is to draw the topmost event card, and in this intro legend, this is this green one here. So if you played this game before, you know what awaits you. And here it says, we hear a dreadful scream of some thoughts, and it seems that our arrival was not unnoticed, and now we have to spawn our first enemies. So we have to place 1 Wargor on space 221, 1 mountain scroll or several mountain scrolls onto those spaces here, and 1 troll each on spaces 220 and 229. Let's start with a Wargor, which is spawned right here. Then we have to spawn 1 mountain scroll right next to Thorn here, which is not really a problem because those creatures will never initiate combat, or this is something that we have to do pretty much actively. Then we have 2 more coming from here and from there. 1 troll will be spawned here in space 220, and the other one will be spawned right next to this mountain scroll there. That's pretty much the event card. Next we have to move the creatures. We will start with a Wargor, and we will always move creatures which are on the lowest numbered space. For the Wargors it really doesn't matter because there's only 1 Wargor on the board right now, so he will move along this arrow here onto space 221 or onto space 219. Pretty much this already ends the movement for the Wargos. Next, the mountain scrolls. And again, we start with the creature on the lowest space. This is this guy here. He moves from 2/3/3 to 2/3/2. And then this guy moves to 2/2/7. Pretty much all the way or across those arrows here. Now we have the trolls, and again we start with the lowest numbered space, which is this guy here up there in the forest. He will move here, but there is a rule to that. There can't be more than one creature on the very same space. So this guy will just continue to move right onto space 217. Last but not least, we have this nasty fellow who will end his movement right next to Chada here. But unfortunately, the Wargors get a second movement. Can you believe that? So we come back to this guy here. He will move here again. There can be only one creature on any given space, so he will continue his journey right onto the space of Thorn. But again, fear not, they will never actively attack us. Next, we have to replenish the cave tokens. In this legend, I believe we only have 4 of those, so 2 of these caves have this little X placed on top of it. So let's do the remaining one. They are spawned also face down here on the board. In a later legend, we would now spawn some skeletons. Therefore, we would roll some dice and then we would check the board where this space would be. So if you would roll a 5, a skeleton would go there. In theory, now for the really mean part in this third part of Andor, our heroes have to eat. They can either eat 1 token of those nuts or they could go for those herbs basically. If they're not able to do that, each hero who's not able to eat, he would lose 8 points of willpower, and this is really, really huge. Luckily, both of our heroes have at least one of those tokens, which is why it's a task from the, let's say, first part of the introductory mission. So Thorn is also not losing any points of willpower, but we definitely have to take care of this during this day, because at the end of the next day, again, they have to eat, and then they could still lose 8 points of willpower. And this is really something that you don't want to happen. It's maybe not that bad in the introductory mission, because there are ways to get along that, but normally you should really try to avoid that. During the next step, any star herbs on the board would pretty much continue to grow. Right now we only have this space, but this is good. We have 2 tokens of this star herbs here, and keep in mind our heroes can also eat that. Then we have to replenish all the fountains on the board, so let's quickly do that. Okay, when a hero goes here, he could regain 3 points of willpower, which isn't that bad. Let's do the same here. Here's only 2 points of willpower, and here, wow, this remote fountain, that would be 4 points of willpower, but pretty sure we will not get there during this legend. And then last but not least, the narrator moves on, and this is how our story advances. So let's move the narrator up here so he lands on space B. We have this little star symbol on it, which also means we have to read another legend card, which happens to be B1 here. And yeah, one of the heroes reached a deep ravine. Thick wedges of smoke hang in the air. Now the card explains us that we can basically cross some of the gorges. On the board there are various locations where you can do that. For example, one hero can jump from one space here to this space here, but in order to do that, he has to have at least 10 points of willpower. He's not losing those points, but he has to have it whenever he crosses this space here. The same is true for those 2 spaces who are pretty much connected, but here the hero still has to have at least 7 points of willpower in order to jump over it. This just counts as 1 hour on the day track pretty much, but yeah, he has to have those points of willpower. Right now that's not a problem, but of course, yeah, heroes tend to lose those points. Then we continue to read. The creatures came closer to the camp. And now we have a new task here. We have to make sure to defeat the creatures before they reach the camp. And now I should show you this nice little camp model here. The cardboard model here, which represents our camp on space 201. And this is what we have to protect. In a two-player game, so we have this card here. In a two-player game, we can have 3 creatures enter the camp in order not to lose. But as soon as there are 3 creatures on those buglers here and the 4th one would get there, we would automatically lose the game. In a 4-player game, we can only allow 1 creature to enter camp before we lose the game. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. But again, this is only one of the tasks. And in this, let's say, introductory mission, that's not really that complicated to achieve. We will also find some useful items here, a buckler here, for example, which we can get from the camp. So whenever our hero goes there, we have another card to read that. Not sure if we will do that. And now the card tells us that we have to continue reading on Legend card V2. And of course, Legend card V2 is right underneath it. And yeah, we already know that the creatures will move during the next turn. Oops, you cannot see that, but it's German anyway. They will always move towards the camp pretty much, so you have to keep in mind. And yeah, then we have again some nice little flavor text here which says the heroes have changed and acquired new skills over the last years. That's our second task here. Each of the heroes starts the game with one of those hero cards, and now we can start reading the front side of those hero cards. Of course, I have already played this mission, so I know that. And it's also, let's say, written here that you have to fulfill this task before the narrator reaches space. And on this track here, now you start wondering, hey, right now we are just on B. The narrator seems to move only at the end of the day, so we have a hell of a lot of time, but not so easy, because every time we are defeating a creature, it will be placed down there, and this will also trigger the narrator to move 1 space up. So you really have to balance how many creatures you really want to defeat, because you want to fulfill your task before the narrator reaches space. And so really something that you have to keep in mind. So let's have a look at the hero cards for Thorn in this case, and this says you have to mark the gorge between spaces 249 and 267 with his, I think there is a symbol for the heroes in there, and he has to jump over this gorge. And if he does it, then he's allowed to flip this card and gain the benefit that's pretty much printed on it. And that's in fact a pretty nasty goal, to be honest, because that's right here. So we have to jump over this gorge here, which happens to be relatively far down there in the south. So here's this guy, and he has to jump over here first, or he can do the same right up there, and then he still has to move and jump over this space. And whew, that's not really that easy. But of course we still have the hero card for Chada, so we have to mark the space 256 with his, I don't know what's it called, crest, I believe. And he has to pick up some of these star herbs, and then he's allowed to gain she is allowed to gain her benefit. And I think this comes in pretty handy, to be honest, because these are also provisions, and she can also use these star herbs for something else, for a special ability. And here's a little spoiler: whenever our heroes gain those benefits, they can now, or from now on, use those special abilities in all the upcoming legends as well, of course. Okay, let's move over to B3. What do we have here? Yeah, it pretty much says the hero who goes to the camp can collect all the items there. Then we have to read the card here, and then we have again some flavor text. The wind was blowing over the summit and howled through the valleys. Some heroes believed hearing voices in the howling of the wind. Okay, if one of the guys picks up whatever, a token in a cave that shows human being with green skin or something like that, nothing happens. We just take them out. And yeah, now we pretty much start the next day. And again, it's Chada who goes first today. And I think right now it's not that bad of an idea to start fighting this Wargor here. She has a bow and an arrow, so she can also initiate a combat when being adjacent to an enemy. And yeah, Thorn can pretty much assist Chada because he happens to be on the same space as the enemy. So I think why not do it? So Chada will spend 1 hour. She will ask Thorn, hey, do you want to join me in battle? And she says, of course, yes, absolutely. So he also has to spend 1 hour in order to assist her. And now we have to adjust the battle track here. So first of all, we have to mark down the strength of our enemy. This is the Wargor. It has a strength of only 2. The Wargor has a willpower points of 6. This is pretty much the life points of the Wargor. So this is how we have to defeat it. And yeah, now we start fighting. And as they are fighting together, there's also a little card in this introductory mission that tells you how to fight together against creatures. I will not go through that in detail. I will just show you how it goes. First of all, we will add up the strength points of all the participating heroes. So we have the 2 strength points from Chada and the 3 strength points from Thorn. So this is in total 5 strength points against the 2 points of the Wargor. So overall, we are not looking bad. Next, we check how many dice each of our heroes are allowed to roll. Right now, Chada has 9 points of willpower, so she can in theory roll 4 dice. The problem with her is she's not allowed to roll all her 4 dice together. She has to roll 1 after each other and then has to decide when she wants to stop. So let's say she rolls a 4, then she can decide does she want to continue to roll, but then she has to keep the new result or if she wants to keep the 4. So let's just do that. Let's roll her first die. That's a 1, and I'm pretty sure we don't want to keep the 1. We can do better than that. That's a 3. I think we want to continue to roll. That's a 6. Awesome. So we will end it here. So 6 is her result, which we can add to the 5 strength points we have. So we are already at 11 points. Not too bad. And then we check Thorn's willpower points, that's 7, so he can roll 3 dice, but he's allowed to roll all those dice at once and can just choose the highest one. So here we have the 6 from Chada. Let's see, another 6. Awesome. So that's 12 plus 5. Basically, so 12 from the dice and the 5 from the strength points. That's 17 points. Pretty much worth of damage, but the Wargor can hit back. So again, let's check the battle stats here. So all the creatures who have basically 6 points of willpower, that's only the Wargor, would roll 2 dice and would add their strength to that result. Normally we are also only taking the highest result. In case we would roll a double, then both of those dice would count. So this can be pretty mean. So let's see what we roll. Okay, that's a 1 and a 2. We take the highest result, that's 2. We add his strength points of 2, that's a 4, versus the 17 of our heroes. The difference is pretty much the damage we dealt, and 17 minus 4 is pretty much enough to defeat the Wargor. Our reward is printed below the Wargor here. Those are 3 points of willpower, which we have to divide between other participating heroes pretty much as we do see fit. In this case, I believe we give 2 points of willpower to Thorn and 1 point to Chada. Not sure if that's really a wise idea, but I'll do it anyway. As we have defeated this Wargor here, we have to place it onto this space. And yeah, again, this triggers the narrator, but right now on space C there is no star token, so we don't have to read another card. Now it's Thorn, and I really want to make sure that he will fulfill his objective, because this is what you have to do. If you're not managing to do that until the narrator reaches space, and we will lose the game. So I think he will take, yeah, I think he will take this path here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. He will go here, I believe, and will end his movement onto this space. He will jump over this gorge, but he has more than enough points of willpower, so that's fine for him. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we ended our movement there, but of course we must not forget to mark that on this hour track or day track here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We still have 1 hour left in this on this day. Of course we can still do some overtime, but first of all, let's see what's under this shadow tokens. Awesome, 3 points of willpower. This is just great. So let's mark that 1, 2, 3 points on his hero chart. Awesome. Of course, this fog token gets removed from the game. It's not respawned in any way. This is really just something that you do during setup. Now it's Chada, and I think she also wants to fulfill her goal, so she will move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she will also jump over this gorge there, and I think, yeah, we will have to mark it on her day track accordingly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So she already reached the end of the day, but I think she's not done yet. And as they are on the same space, I think she will give her provisions to Thorn. Keep in mind we have to feed our heroes at the end of the day. Then it's Thorn again, and I think he will move onto this fountain space. He will drink from the fountain, so we have to flip it. Therefore, he gains 1, 2 more points of willpower. Of course, we must not forget to advance his time token accordingly. And next it's Chada. She already reached the end of her normal, let's call it, working day. So she could decide to go back to the dawn space, or she could do some overtime. And I think this is what she will do. So she will get 1 additional hour. Therefore, she has to lose 1, 2 points of willpower. But this allows her to move onto space 256, where her quest happens to be. So she's now going to pick up one of those, yeah, I don't know, star herbs, which she can place. So we'll flip it onto her character sheet. And now, as she fulfilled her personal goal, which first tells us that she now gains 1 point of strength, which is really important. So let's give her this. And on top of this, she also gains the cauldron. So from now on, she's allowed to make some potions. So she can spend 2 of those star herbs, and when she does it, she gains 1 potion of the witch basically, or she can also trade in only 1 of those, which then allows her basically a half filled potions. And yeah, this potion is pretty powerful because you can double 1 of your dice. This is really, really awesome. And yeah, you can basically decide to do that after he or she rolled the dice. That's really not too bad. And yeah, this is pretty much her special ability, or her additional special ability. And as I mentioned, all the heroes will keep those special abilities. So when we jump into Legend 12, they will start the legend with this special ability, of course. Now it's Thorn, and he could do pretty much the same. So he could also do some overtime, but I think right now it's not really necessary, to be honest. Of course, he could move on to the cave or so. Then he would save it. No, why not? So I think he's also doing 1 hour of overtime, and I'm pretty much only doing this in order to show you some of those components. So he will use this hour to move down onto this space, and then he will enter the cave. This doesn't cost him an hour or so. And wow, guess what? He gets his 2 points of willpower back. Awesome. So he pretty much lost 2 points of willpower, but he just regained it. So he pretty much got one free movement this round. This is really not that bad. We will remove this cave token. It will get shuffled in with the remaining cave tokens, and yeah, at the end of the day they would get respawned. Now it's Charter again, but I think she will call it a day. So let's grab her token and place it back onto the Dawn space. She's the first to call it a day, so she will go first the next day, and then it's Thorn, and he will do pretty much the same. He will also quit for the day, and that's already the end of day number 2. And again, we will move through the whole set of events here. First thing to do would be to draw the event card, and that's a pretty tough one. It says the Wargos were very evil creatures. They were hungry and yeah, full of prowess. I don't know, but on this day they would roll with 1 gray die instead of their 2 red dice, and you can see for yourself this gray die can go up to, I think it's really 10. This is pretty tough, but keep in mind we just got rid of the last Vargor on the board, so maybe we are fine, but maybe not. Next, the Wargors would move. We don't have any Wargors on the board, so we jump directly into the movement step of the Skrulls, and I think this guy goes first, then it's this guy, he moves here, then it's this guy, he moves there. Now we have the Trolls. This is the lowest counting troll, so he goes there. And then we have, oh wow, this is a tough one. He will move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So this guy nearly made it to the camp up there. So he's pretty much only 1 space away. And to be honest, I already did one little mistake, but I really only did that because I wanted to show you how to progress the game. Normally you should try to get rid of at least 2 of these creatures as long as all the heroes are there, but I will not play to the bitter end, so I think it really doesn't matter. But yeah, this is how you have to do it, and then you should be fine to successfully complete this legend. Next we would spawn the caves, but right now Thorn is still on the space, so we are not doing this. And yeah, now we have to eat, and luckily both of our heroes still have something to eat, so Charter has to give away her herbs and Thorn will eat the nuts that he got from Charter. Not too bad. Let's flip the fountain here, and then we have to place a new of those weeds or herbs here. Of course, I think it's the other way around, but really doesn't matter. And last but not least, the narrator will move onto space D. So let's check out legend card D. And here, I think this is just a reminder of the actions that you are allowed to take. So you can move or you can fight, and then your additional, let's say, opportunities are to activate those fog tokens, to drink from the fountains and what not. So but this is just a reminder, so we can just get rid of it, and then yeah, when the narrator reaches space E, we would continue to read. Charter goes first, and I think she will harvest the last 2 tokens from this space here. She's allowed to do that basically any time, so this doesn't cost her an hour or so. And I think she wants to see what's below of one of those fog tokens, so I think she will spend 2 hours 1 and 2. Let's mark it on the track accordingly, and then we will reveal the fog tokens. Okay, these are the guys that have this green skin, so we can just ignore it, but I was really hoping for something cool. I believe there are tokens that also show additional strength points, which can be pretty valuable. Then it's Thorn. He will move 1 hour to jump over this gorge here. This also means he just fulfilled his personal objective. So first of all, he gains 1 point of strength. Hooray, that's pretty important. And now he can also use his horse, Ambra. So Ambra is pretty much the white cube here, and is always 2 points of strength higher than his current strength is. And during the first round of combat, he can use the value of the white die here. That's pretty important, and yeah, we have to keep in mind. But all the remaining rounds of a combat mean he has to use his standard strength, but that's really not that bad. Then it's Charter again. I think she will spend another hour to reveal this fog token here. And oh gosh, I guess, yeah, she ate some poisonous food or so. So she's losing 3 points of willpower, which is really mean and can really be a problem. 1, 2, and 3 for once. She's now only rolling 3 dice instead of her 4. And yeah, if she goes to 0, she will lose 1 point of strength. This is really something that we definitely want to avoid. And I think Thorn wants to move slowly back to our enemies, so I think he will move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces here. He has more than 12 points of willpower, so he is allowed to move over that space, but he has to spend 6 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But here he will also reveal the fog token. And again, one of those guys here, we can just ignore them for now. Now would go back to Charter, but I think I will end it here, because the next time we will get some additional goals for the legend, what you have to do. And again, I don't want to spoil the experience for you. I really hope you enjoyed my little walkthrough, and really it's a great game. I love Andor a big deal. It's something that you can play with your whole family, and it's really fun to play it. It's very tricky. You have to really think a lot who you move first, which enemy do you have to defeat in order not to get overrun by those guys, but you also want to make sure that the narrator doesn't move that fast and whatnot. And overall the story is really nice. I really hope you don't have to wait too long until Cosmos decides to release Andor Part 3 in English. And yeah, hope you like my little video here. Wish you really a nice start into 2017. And yeah, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos. And until then, bye bye.